Hello Namibia, you are joining us here in Katutura at the Roman Catholic, where we'll be moving from church to church and to hear from the people how the legacy of His Excellency Dr. Geingob has impacted their lives and the footprint that he left in the hearts of the people. I just wanted you to share with us your experience and how because you told me you had some of your personal experiences with him. What are some of those moments and how did they impact your life?
We are really saddened by the death of our president, because he was part of us. Especially for us here in Corpus Christi, is where our youth normally go to his house to visit him personally. He's a person we know that he was having an open door policy, that whenever you go there, you don't need to make an appointment, you just go there and he will let you go in.
Okay, so being a church person, and we know that His Excellency was a church-going person, how did his leadership and his legacy impact those that go to church and their lives as well?
We know he is a Christian, not just a Christian by name, but he's a Christian by practice. He's a devoted Christian, we know. And as we heard about his death from day one, we have been praying for a happy repose of his soul, so that he, our Lord, our God, in him, in whom he believed, may rest in peace.
Mishanika, just tell us maybe quickly one or two moments that you had with him that you will forever cherish.
I remember one day that we visited his home. I visited his home several times, but I remember this one day that we visited him at his house. You have been chatting with him, laughing with him as you know him, that he was so cheerful. And he is always telling us that whenever we want to discuss something, we never hesitate to say that we should not go him. He is just like us. He is always refer himself as part of us.
Thank you so much, Miss Shanika. That was Miss Shanika, who had a personal experience with His Excellency. And I can tell you that Dr. Geingob, was an excellent leader, a visionary who left so much, people motivated, encouraged, and an impact in them.
One of the things I've learned actually at Inner City now, speaking to one of the church leaders here, is that generally when a church goes out, and I would assume this is the same with political events where you let the head of state leave the venue first, but the late Dr. Geingob was such that he would wait until it is 10 to go out with everybody, because if anything, he understood exactly what the religious institution was and what it meant. Because we spoke earlier about, Carl Jung said, modern men do not see God because they don't look low enough. And so who was the late Geingob as far as a faith-based person, and how did that help him become a better leader? I'm now joined by Mama Naki here. She is one of the leaders at Inner City here, and I think we've had a very great conversation. But I would like for us to talk about just the late Geingob, the late President Geingob, and why you think, because he was such a faith-based president, he was at church almost every other Sunday that he was here. How do you think that helped him to be a better leader?
Thank you, Franklin. Leaders are born. Leaders are from God. And our late president was a God-fearing man. He was a man who was given wisdom by God. He was full of the Spirit of God. He was not doing himself, but the Spirit of God always filled him. Yeah. He was led by the Spirit of God.
The idea with faith, and especially as far as the head of state, was that it was not an issue of theater. It's not something that he needed to pretend to be, but it's merely who he was. And I think as we continue to remember the gentleman, I'm now joined by another elder here, and I think we are really just reflecting. Good afternoon, good morning, sir. How are you? We are reflecting back on the life, and I know somebody was saying we are not mourning, we are celebrating and remembering the life of the late Dr. Geingob. But let's take a look at from your personal experience. How have you come to know him over the years, and what sort of character, what sort of man was he?
Dr. Geingob is a man of humility. He was a person who was down to earth. I remember a particular instance, for instance, when he was elected as president. We wanted him to occupy a certain place in the church building, and I was delegated by the council to talk to him to assume that place. And then he said, "No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I'm not moving anywhere." So another instance that I can also remember him is, I haven't been to church for 2 Sundays or so. And once he met me, he says, "Where have you been?" And I said, "No, I was absent," and so on and so on. And then I said, "How did you know that I was not here?" He said, "Look, I sit up there. I can see when you guys are here or not." So he was actually a very active member of our congregation. He really participated in our programs, the programs where we supported people with food and some people who needed shelter and all that. So he was always at the background, but he was supporting us fully, especially him and his wife.